Hello friends, myself Dhruv Kumar. Today we have started a geography MCQ, very important for that is based on the NCERT. So let's start with friends. I have a request to you. Please इस चैनल को लाइक शेयर और प्लीज सब्सक्राइब कर दीजिए. सो स्टार्ट करते हैं हम लोग MCQ. Consider the following statement about the inner planets. Inner planets के बारे में स्टेटमेंट देखते हैं. Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars are called terrestrial planets, where Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune are called Jovian planets. Terrestrial planets that have relatively high density, whereas Jovian planets that have a low density. तो इन दोनों स्टेटमेंट में कौन सा स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट है? Which one is correct one? So देखते हैं इसमें तो दोनों फर्स्ट और सेकेंड दोनों स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट है. एक्सप्लेनेशन देखते हैं इसका. Our solar system consists of a sun, 8 planets, 63 moons, billions of smaller bodies like asteroids, comets, huge quantity of dust grains and gases. Out of 8 planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars are called the inner planets that lies between the sun and belt of asteroid. ठीक है, सन और एस्टेरॉयड के बीच में है मरकरी, वेनस, अर्थ और मार्स. ठीक है, इनको इनर प्लैनेट्स कहा जाता है और जो अदर 4 प्लैनेट्स हैं उनको आउटर प्लैनेट्स कहा जाता है. अल्टरनेटिवली द फर्स्ट 4 प्लैनेट्स आर टेरेस्ट्रियल, मतलब अर्थ लाइक. टेरेस्ट्रियल में अर्थ लाइक है एंड दैट मेड ऑफ रॉक्स और मेटल्स का बने होते हैं, जो हाई उनकी डेंसिटी क्या होती है, हाई होती है. बाकी जो 4 प्लैनेट हैं उनको जोवियन या गैस जायंट्स प्लैनेट्स कहा जाता है क्योंकि जुपिटर के जैसे हैं. और इसमें और जो मोस्ट ऑफ देम आर मच लार्जर देन द टेरेस्ट्रियल प्लैनेट्स. टेरेस्ट्रियल प्लैनेट्स क्या होता है, बड़े हैं और इनका एटमॉस्फेयर भी काफ़ी ठीक है. मोस्टली ऑफ हीलियम्स एंड हाइड्रोजन्स यहाँ पे फाइंड आउट होते हैं. ठीक है, सेकेंड क्वेश्चन हम देखते हैं. Why are the inner planets rocky? जो inner planets rocky हैं, why जबकि अदर outer जो planets हैं mostly gaseous form में है. इसका स्टेटमेंट फर्स्ट देखते हैं. The inner planets were formed in the close vicinity of the parent star. Solar winds are most intense near the sun. Inner planets are smaller and that have a low gravity. इसमें क्या है कि करेक्ट आंसर देखना है कौन सा है. तो ऑप्शन 4 थी, मतलब तीनों स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट है इसके. एक्सप्लेनेशन देखते हैं कि द इनर प्लैनेट आर रॉकी व्हाइल द आउटर प्लैनेट्स आर मोस्टली इन गैसियस फॉर्म. द टेरेस्ट्रियल प्लैनेट्स वेर फॉर्म्ड इन द क्लोज विसिनिटी ऑफ द पेरेंट स्टार. इट वाज द फॉर्म जो काफ़ी कम टू वार्म फॉर गैसेस ऑन द सर्फेस टू कंडेंस टू द सॉलिड पार्टिकल्स. ठीक है. सोलर विंड्स आर मोस्ट इंटेंस नियर द सन. जो सोलर विंड्स हैं इन सन के नज़दीक काफ़ी इंटेंस हैं. सो इट ब्लू a lot of gas and dust from the surface of the terrestrial planets. The solar winds are not all that intense to cause similar removal of gases that from the Jovian planets. The terrestrial planets are smaller and their lower gravity could not hold the escaping gases. तो होल्ड नहीं कर पाती. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट देखते हैं हम लोग. फ्रॉम टॉकिंग अबाउट स्टेटमेंट्स. द अर्थ हैज अ लेयर्ड स्ट्रक्चर एंड मटेरियल दैट एग्जिस्ट इज नॉट यूनिफॉर्म. अर्थ क्रस्ट इज मेड ऑफ लाइटर मटेरियल वेयर द इंटीरियर इज मेड ऑफ द हेवी मटेरियल. जो अर्थ क्रस्ट का जो बना होता है लाइटर मटेरियल का और इंटीरियर जो है हेवी मटेरियल का. तो इसमें से करेक्ट स्टेटमेंट देखते हैं कौन सा है. Third, both statements are correct. The Earth has a layered structure from the outermost end of the atmosphere to the center of the Earth. The material that exists is not uniform. The atmospheric matter has the least density. Density काफी कम है. From the surface to the deeper depth, the Earth interior has different zones and each contains a material which have the different characteristics. The अलग characteristics के Earth has a layer that is called crust, mantle, outer core and inner core. चार layer बटा हुआ है. From the crust to core, density of the material very important increases. crust से कोर तक पहुंचने में जो मेटेरियल का डेंसिटी है वो क्या होता है, इंक्रीज करता है. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन देखते हैं कि विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज द प्रोसेस थ्रू विच अर्थ फॉर्मिंग मटेरियल गॉट सेपरेटेड फ्रॉम अ डिफरेंट लेयर्स. ठीक है. चार में डिफरेंशिएशन, क्रस्ट फॉर्मेशन, सॉलिडिफिकेशन या डिगैसिंग. आंसर क्या है इसका? 1. differentiation. The differentiation is the process through which the earth forming material got separated. अलग होते हैं into different layers. अलग-अलग layer में बन जाते हैं. The process through which the gases were outpoured from the interior is called degassing. Crust formation is related with the lithospheric activity, and solidification is related to the refers to the formation of tiny stable solid particles in the liquid. नेक्स्ट देखते हैं कंसीडर द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट अबाउट इनर प्लैनेट्स के बारे में देखते हैं. दे लाई बिटवीन द सन एंड द बेल्ट ऑफ एस्टेरॉइड. दे इंक्लूडिंग मर्करी, वेनस, अर्थ एंड मार्स. दे आर अर्थ लाइक एंड मेड ऑफ रॉक एंड मेटल्स एंड हैवी रिलेटिवली हाई डेंसिटी. दे तीन स्टेटमेंट. इसमें करेक्ट वन कौन सा है देखते हैं. करेक्ट वन है फोर्थ वन इज द करेक्ट. मतलब तीनों स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट. Out of the 8 planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars are called inner planets, which lie between the Sun and belt of the asteroid. Correct. The first 4 planets are called terrestrial, that means Earth-like. They are made of the rocks and metals, and that have a high density. Consider the following statement about the outer planets. के बारे में देखते हैं. They are called gas giants या Jovian planets. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune are outer planets. They have a thick atmosphere, mostly made of the helium and hydrogen. Outer planets are made of the light material and they have a low density. they 4 स्टेटमेंट्स हैं, तो इसमें करेक्ट कौन सा है? तो फोर्थ वन ये है जो करेक्ट है, मतलब 4 स्टेटमेंट इसके करेक्ट है. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune are called Jovian or gas giant planets. Jovian means Jupiter. ठीक है. Most of them much have larger than terrestrial planets और इनका एटमॉस्फेयर भी काफी थिक है, जो मोस्टली किसी हीलियम और हाइड्रोजन के बने होते हैं. Outer planets are made of the light material and they have a low density. So all 4 statements are correct. Planet symbols क्या होते हैं? तो इसके चारों the smaller bodies that exist at an early stage of the planet formation. A study of planets' internal structure, localized lumps of gas within a nebula, and types of galaxies which contain large number of planets. Then 4 statement कौन सा correct? तो आंसर इसका फर्स्ट. Planet symbol is a smaller body that exists at an early stage of the planet formation. इसका देखते हैं. The planet symbols are large number of smaller bodies that form from the dust, rocks, and other materials that existed at the early stage of the planet formation. In the final stage में क्या this large number of the small planet symbol form करते हैं few large bodies in the form of planets. Planets के रूप में form होता है. The stars are localized lumps of gas within a nebula. Next हम देखते हैं about evolution of lithosphere. Lithosphere के evolution के बारे में. Due to the density differences, materials inside the earth separated अलग हो जाते हैं. It is through the process of differentiation that the earth forming material got separated into different layers. From the crust to the core, the density of the material decreases. तो ये 3 स्टेटमेंट्स हैं, इसमें करेक्ट कौन सा है देखते हैं. तो फर्स्ट और सेकंड करेक्ट है. मतलब इसमें हम लोगों ने देखा था कि crust to the core जाने पे जो डेंसिटी ऑफ मटेरियल डिक्रीज नहीं होता है, वो इंक्रीज कर जाता है. इंक्रीज्ड, ठीक है, इंक्रीज कर. फर्स्ट में सेकंड स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट है, थर्ड गलत. Due to gradual increase in intensity of the temperature inside that increases, as a result material inside started getting separated, अलग होता है depending on their densities. It is the through process of differentiation that of earth forming material got separated into different layers. अलग अलग लेयर में हो जाते हैं. Starting from the surface of the central part, we have layered like a crust, mantle and core. ये 4 layers होते हैं. ठीक है. From the crust to the core, density of the material increases. ठीक है. Increase. स्टेटमेंट्स हमारे. During the cooling of the earth की cooling के समय, gases and water vapors released from the interior solid earth. First statement है. Second क्या है? The early atmospheric large contain water vapor, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia, but no free oxygen. Loss of primordial atmosphere in earth through the impact of solar winds. तो इसमें से करेक्ट कौन सा स्टेटमेंट देखते हैं? थर्ड. First or third is correct. During the cooling of the earth, gases and water vapor were released from the interior earth, solid earth. ये correct है. The early atmospheric large contained water vapor, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia, very little, and also free oxygen. So the early atmosphere within hydrogen and helium is supposed to have a strict result of solar winds. ठीक है. This happened not only in case of Earth but also in the terrestrial planet also. We are supposed to have lost their primordial atmosphere through the impact of the solar winds. इसमें क्या है क्वेश्चन क्या है कि which of the following are the direct sources of information about the interior of the अर्थ के बारे में कौन सा? माइनिंग, वोल्केनिक इरप्शन, टेम्परेचर, ग्रेविटेशन, सिस्मिक एक्टिविटी. तो ये 5 है. इसमें से कौन सा करेक्ट आंसर कौन सा? फर्स्ट एंड सेकेंड, मतलब माइनिंग और वोल्केनिक इरप्शन. Most of our knowledge about the interior of the earth is largely based on the estimated and inferences. Part of information is obtained from the direct observation and analysis of materials. Direct sources में क्या क्या? माइनिंग एंड ड्रिलिंग इनसाइड द अर्थ, वोल्केनिक इरप्शन. ठीक है. एनालिसिस ऑफ प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ मैटर, टेम्परेचर, प्रेशर, डेंसिटी इनडायरेक्टली. ठीक है. प्रोवाइड इन्फॉर्मेशन अबाउट द इंटीरियर, नॉट डायरेक्टली. इनडायरेक्ट सोर्सेस और में क्या क्या है? ग्रेविटेशन, मैग्नेटिक फील्ड और सिस्मिक एक्टिविटी भी है. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन देखते हैं हम लोग. The gravitational force is not the same at the different latitude on the surface. It is greater near the poles and lesser on the equator. Because क्यों होता है ऐसा? आंसर इसका फर्स्ट. The distance from the center of the equator being greater than the at the poles. ठीक है. तो जो डिस्टेंस है वो क्या है? इक्वेटर पे ज़्यादा है एज कम्पेयर टू. The gravitational force is not at the same at the different latitude of the sun. हर एक जगह सेम नहीं है. It is because the greater at the near the poles पे ज़्यादा है, and less at the equator पे कम. Because the distance from the center of the equator being greater than the at the poles. ठीक है. इसका डिस्टेंस greater. Next है which of the following is about gravitational forces of the earth. Gravitational forces is uniform at different latitude on the surface. Gravity value differs according to the mass of the material. तो इसमें करेक्ट कौन सा है देखते हैं. आंसर सेकेंड वन इज करेक्ट. Consider the following statements about earthquakes. Earthquake के बारे में देखते हैं हम. Earthquakes are shaking of the earth which is caused due to the release of energy along the fault. First statement है generated waves due to seismic energy travels in all directions. सभी डायरेक्शन में करते हैं. The point where the energy is released is called the center of the earthquake. तो इसमें से तीनों स्टेट में से करेक्ट कौन सा है देखते हैं. तो फर्स्ट और सेकेंड करेक्ट है इसमें. Earthquake is in a simple term is a shaking of earth is correct. It is a natural event. It is caused due to release of energy which generates waves that travel in all directions. सभी डायरेक्शन में ट्रेवल करते हैं. Release of energy occurs along a fault के थ्रू. ठीक है. तो फर्स्ट और सेकेंड एडजस्टमेंट. The point where the energy is released is called focus of the earthquake. Earthquake का फोकस कहा जाता है. Alternatively, it is called a hypocenter also. This technique which is following about the epicenter of the earthquake. Earthquake के epicenter के बारे में हम लोग देखते हैं. The point on the surface where nearest to the focus, it is the first place where they experience seismic waves. It is a point where the indirectly wave of the focus. इसमें correct answer कौन सा है? Fourth, मतलब तीनों statement correct है इसका. The point where energy is released, ऐसा point जहाँ से energy released होता है, it's called the focus of the earthquake. It is called hypocenter also. The energy waves traveling in a different direction reaches to the surface. ठीक है. The point on the surface where the nearest of the focus is called the center. Epicenter जो focus की जो nearest point होता है वो epicenter कहलाता है. It is the first one to experience the waves. ठीक है. पहला point है जहाँ पे waves को experience करते हैं. It is a point directly above the focus. Directly above the focus. Focus के ऊपर directly above. ठीक है. Consider the following statement about the earthquake waves. तो इसके भी तीन statement. Body waves are generated due to the release of energy at the focus. Surface waves are generated by the interaction of body waves with the surface rocks. Body waves move in all directions, traveling through the body of the earth, while the surface waves are move along the surface only. तो correct कौन सा इसमें देखते हैं. जो तीनों statement है वो correct है. Earthquakes are basically of two types: body waves and surface waves. Body waves are generated due to release of energy at the focus, moving in all directions through the body of the earth, hence named body waves. Body waves interact with the surface rocks and generate a new set of waves called surface waves, move along the surface. ठीक है. Consider the following statement about body waves. It is also called a P's and A's waves that travel through the gaseous, liquid and solid material. It helps us to understand the structure of the interior of the earth. इसमें तीनों में से correct कौन सा है body waves के बारे में? तो first and third correct है. दो तरह के body waves होते हैं. एक P कहलाता है या S कहलाता है. P travels with the gas, liquid and solid. और जो S है वो travel करता है only through the solid material. They help to understand the structure of the interior of the earth also. Consider the following statement about the various types of seismic waves. Seismic waves के अलग type हैं. P waves या primary waves are similar to the light waves and can travel through the gaseous, liquid and solid materials. First statement. S waves are second wave that vibrate parallel to the direction of the waves and can travel only through the solid materials. Surface waves are considered to the most damaging waves. तो इसमें तीनों statement correct कौन सा है? The answer third is correct only. There are two types of body waves, P and S waves. P waves move faster and the first to arrive at the surface. इसलिए इसको primary waves कहते हैं. P waves are similar to the sound waves that travel through the gas, liquid and solid material also. ठीक है. S waves arrive at the surface of the with some time lag. They are called secondary waves. इसका important factor है कि they can travel only through the solid material. ठीक है. The direction of the vibration of S waves is perpendicular to the wave direction. Wave direction perpendicular होते हैं on vertical plane. Surface waves are considered to the most damaging waves. ठीक है. तो आंसर इसका थर्ड. नेक्स्ट देखते हैं about shadow zone. Shadow zone क्या होता है? They are the specific area where the seismic waves are not reported. Second, for each earthquake, there exist on altogether different shadow zones. A zone between 105 to 145 from the epicenter is identified as shadow zone for P wave and S waves. The shadow zones of the S waves is much larger than the P waves. The चार statements में correct कौन से हैं हमें देखना. Third one is the correct one. 1, 3 and 4. Some specific area where S waves where waves are not reported called उसको जहाँ पे S waves कोई भी waves जहाँ पे report नहीं होता उसको shadow zone कहा जाता है. ठीक है. The study of different events were revealed that from for each earthquake that exist on altogether different shadow zones. It is observed that seismographs जो होता है located at any distance of within 105 from the epicenter recorded the arrival of the both P and S waves. However, seismography located beyond 145 from the epicenter recorded the arrival of the P waves, not the S waves. The zone between 105 to 145 from the epicenter was identified as the cytozone of both the types of waves. So statement 3 is correct. The entire zone beyond 105 does not receive S waves. The cytozones of S waves are much larger than the P waves. The cytozone of P waves will appear on the band around the Earth between 105 to 145 from the epicenter. The cytozone of the S wave is not only larger in extent but it also a little over the 40% of the Earth surface का 40% कवर करता है. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट देखते हैं हम लोग. अरे व्हाट अबाउट द क्रस्ट के बारे में देखते हैं. It is the outermost solid part of the Earth. The oceanic crust is thinner and as compared to the continental crust. The continental crust is composed mostly of granites and oceanic crust consists of the basalt. तो ये 3 स्टेटमेंट्स में से करेक्ट कौन सा है देखते हैं. फोर्थ, मतलब all 3 statements are correct. It is the outermost solid part of the Earth. ठीक है, brittle in nature. Thickness of the crust varies on the oceanic and continental area. Oceanic crust is thinner. Oceanic crust पतला होता है compared to the continental crust. The continental crust is thicker in the area of the major mountain system. 70 km thick in the Himalayan region. It is made of heavy rocks. Its density is 3 gram per centimeter. The continental crust is composed of mostly of the granite कवन होता है. The oceanic crust is volcanic lava rock that is rich basalt. What is caldera? Caldera क्या? Colossal volcanic depression. Steep volcanoes occur in the oceanic area or deposits of coal. The answer is first, a collapsed volcanic depression. Caldera are the most explosive on the Earth's volcanoes. They are usually so explosive that when they erupt, they tend to collapse themselves rather than building any tall structure. The collapsed depressions are called caldera. The explosiveness indicates that magma chamber supplies lava is not the only use but it also in a close vicinity. So friends, I have a request to all here. प्लीज़ इस चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दीजिए, लाइक कर दीजिए एंड प्लीज़ ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा शेयर कर दीजिए. थैंक यू.